Welcome everybody to today's webinar, The Power of Self-Awareness, the first step in the making of a great leader. I'm Kevin Iguano and I'll be your host for today. This is one in a series of webinars that we run roughly every 2 weeks throughout the year, and we're delighted to have back a popular speaker, Sami Fahmy. Dr. Fahmy is an engineer, he's a project manager, he's been leading projects of all different sizes and types over the years, and I'm delighted to have him back. He will be presenting shortly on this call. Now, what I'd like you to do is save your questions till the end. He's going to have a Q&A session at the end where you can ask your questions. Along the way, if you're afraid you're going to forget your questions, there is a chat window or a questions window in the web interface where you can type in your questions, and then we will address them at the end. We'll read them out and have him address those questions. If you are viewing this on the YouTube video recording, there won't be any chance to have live questions, but you'll get to hear the questions of the others. And yes, this is being recorded and will be posted within a couple days on our YouTube channel. Dr. Fahmy, take it away.
Okay, thank you very much, Kevin. Good afternoon, everyone. Today we are going to explore actually a topic that holds the key to our personal growth, success, fulfillment. It is the power of self-awareness. Let me start by sharing with you that my journey with self-discovery, it actually started a long time ago, and it's a long story, but let me very quickly summarize it for you. Many years ago, I read a nice story about a Greek philosopher, Socrates. Once he engaged in a dialogue with an eager young student. The young student was so proud to share the knowledge he acquired from other people through reading, research, and so on. And then Socrates actually interjected him saying, let me show you here what, I just wrote it down. Tell me, my dear student, have you ever taken the time to truly understand yourself? The young man responded, you know what, Socrates, I have spent years studying the works of great thinkers, absorbing their great ideas and philosophies and all this. So Socrates actually, in his usual patience, he's one of my favorite, smiled and said, here's what he said. I wrote it down, so it's just coming from him. Indeed, knowledge is valuable, but the true wisdom lies in knowing yourself. Very powerful statement. Very powerful statement. I certainly believe in that, simply because self-awareness really unlocks the door to our authentic self. Getting to know our strengths, weaknesses, and embracing our unique purpose. That's critically important. So actually, this story awakened my curiosity in myself much more, recognizing the significance of self-awareness. From that day on, I start basically in a lifelong journey of self-discovery and introspective. So I actually forever grateful to the wisdom that was bestowed on me by Socrates, and I hope that this presentation will do the same thing for you. Start being basically or becoming self-aware. In addition to that, we're going to have lots of benefit. You're gonna be able to define what is self-awareness, list 5 reasons why self-awareness is important, and how can you use it to improve your life. We're also going to cover one of the very good tools of becoming self-aware. We call it Johari window. We don't have too much time to discover that, but it is a great tool. Finally, I'm going to give you a challenge that hopefully will help you become self-aware. How are we going to do that? Basically, we're going to go through some definitions, talk about importance of self-awareness, how to improve self-awareness, introduction to Johari window, self-awareness skills, and finally, I will give you that challenge that we talked about, and hopefully there will be time, 5-10 minutes or so, to entertain your questions. So let me start with a question for you. What comes to mind when I say the word self-awareness? Just take, a few seconds and write something in the chat and tell us what comes to mind. What does it mean to you when you hear that word?
So we have no entries in the chat window yet.
Oh, okay. Okay, I just go ahead with, I actually came up with that definition. It is so self-awareness is the ability to honestly identify and accurately monitor your thoughts, emotions, impulses, and reaction. Basically, becoming aware of yourself. And the goal, of course, is to go into a lifelong journey of self-acceptance. That's who I am. I know I do this or don't do this, and how can I improve? I came up with that definition based on reading so many other definitions. And I tried to collect the wisdom of all these definitions and put them together in a different way or different approach. I give you another question. I think that would be an easy one to answer. Are you truly self-aware? Remember, honestly, accurately, are you truly self-aware? All you have to do is just basically say yes or no in the chat.
Okay, there's one yes in the chat window.
Okay. Come on, that's an easy one.
There's a couple no's and a maybe.
Couple of no's and maybe. Okay, that's good news actually. Okay, let me help you with actually I created that my own survey of self-awareness. It's only very quickly 10 questions. I'm gonna go quickly through them, and if you wish, there are so many surveys in the internet. I encourage you to go there. Usually there are 20 to 25 questions, much more detailed, but this is just a quick one. Do you know your strengths and weaknesses? Do you use them? How about your distractions? Are you in control of your distractions, or they actually control you? Do you know when you are on autopilot? As you know, most of us, most of the time, are actually on autopilot. We do a lot of things that we don't even know that we do it. I recall a few years ago, I just went to the office where I work after 2 hours of activities at home and driving, and I just came to office and say, "Oh my God, I'm here. How did I get here? And that is autopilot. That is autopilot. We do things without even thinking about it. Because you do it so often, it becomes really part of you. You need to be aware of what you're doing. Don't do like what I did. It's just, here you go. I'm in the office after 2 hours of activities at home and driving and so on. Are you aware of your emotions? Are you in control of your emotions? Do you recognize your emotions? Do you suppress your emotions? Or now something that's very important. What motivates you? For me, what motivates me is not the money, it is the challenge. Give me a challenge, I'm on. Another thing that is very important to recognize and be aware of, what makes you feel great? Or another end of the spectrum is what wears you off? Do you find it difficult to empathize with people? This is something that is missing from homes and work environment as well. What are your core values? Are you living your values? This is another very important question. I remember one time this guy was talking to me about he really values his family and his kids and his wife, and they come at the very top. And during the discussion, I discovered that he only see his wife and kids about 15 minutes a day. He works as a bus driver, and his wife works from 8 until I think 4 o'clock or something, and then he works from 4 on. During morning, he's at home by himself, kids at work, at school, his wife goes to work. When she comes back, he is leaving to work on a shift from 4 to 12. What kind of life is this? Are you really living your values? Very important. Okay, so my question to you now is, what type are you? There are two types of people. Those that actually are self-aware and those who think that they are self-aware. Okay, so what I would like you to do is, what is the percentage of people that you think, or that they think, that they are truly self-aware? What's your opinion? Just write the percentage in the chat box. 25%, 50%, 75%.
We have one vote for 95.
Oh boy, okay.
2, 3 now at 75. Another 75 and 2 50s.
Okay, you guys are very close. Okay, let me share with you research results that was done by Dr. Tasha. I think it was 2015 research. She found that 95% of the people think that they are self-aware. But she discovered that the real number is between 10 and 15%. So people think that they know themselves for sure. Oh yeah, I know. I have been living with myself for 50 years. I know myself. And the wife comes back and say, I know you better than you know yourself. So again, if most people think 95%, and the real research says 10 to 15%, what does that mean? Basically, 80% of us are lying to ourselves. That's very scary. That's very scary. But you know what? I think if you look at this slide, why 10 to 15% of us are truly self-aware? Okay? The first thing is, it is very hard. It takes a lot of courage to carry a self-reflection and self-understanding and self-discovery. Number two, simply because the result that you may get probably will be negative habits, some ugly emotions, unhealthy pattern. I remember talking to somebody, he said, you know, I discovered that I have a suspicious mind. I said, oh my God, what are you going to do about that? So if you really go on a self-discovery, you will discover a lot of good things and bad things, and you need to start working on the bad things. The other thing, number three, all of us are naturally blind when it comes to self-discovery. Okay, we have blind spots. We're going to talk about that in Johari's window. But many of us, like I remember one of my friends, when you talk to him, I studied basically body language for a long time, and we discovered I discovered from talking with him, every time he talks, he just covers his mouth. He wasn't aware of that. So one day I was having a chat with him on coffee and so on, and I said, you know, Jack, I was reading in body language and so on, and they say when you cover your mouth, it basically says that you're hiding something. He said, oh yeah, I agree with you. I said, do you know that you actually cover your mouth when you talk? He said, no way. I said, you just did that. He didn't even know that he covered his mouth. Amazing. So we do a lot of things that we don't even recognize or not aware of. Some people don't even know that they snore. Some people don't know that they talk too much, and so on. So the number 4 is actually very critical. We are actually wired to operate on autopilot most of the time. And I gave you an example on that. When you go to a room, your hand is right there with the light switch. You don't even know that you are doing that. Like here, when we go into our houses, we take our shoes off. Like I was in Egypt visiting, and they don't do that. As soon as I come to a house, I turn my shoes off. I said, what are you doing? I do it without even recognizing that I do it. And everybody start laughing because they don't do that over there. Everything there is styles, and they just don't worry about it. So please remember that you are on autopilot. This means this is, of course, controlled by our brain, and we need to be aware. Are we in autopilot, or are we in control of ourselves? Very, very important. The last one, we like to think positive about ourselves. So the feel good feeling is very, very important for us, and that's why we don't want to get into basically rediscovering yourself. So let me ask you another question. I wanted to get you to work with me a little bit. So what is the goal of self-awareness? Anybody?
Just type your answers in the chat window, please.
Yes, please. Thank you.
What do you think is the goal of self-awareness? Just go ahead and type it in the chat window or the questions window on the web interface. So one person says to overcome your faults and get better.
Excellent. Very good. Also to recognize your strengths as well, so you can make advantage or take advantage of it. What else?
Another response says to improve.
Yes, yes, that's for sure.
Somebody made a comment that this sounds like therapy or counseling.
It is when you do it to yourself, for sure. Actually, the main goal of self-awareness is self-acceptance. You start with self-discovery. This is who I am. And then you accept who you are. And then you start working on self-improvement and growth. And of course, the goal is to be in control. That is the whole idea. Rather than your subconscious mind controlling you and put you on autopilot all the time. Very, very important. And being aware that you are on autopilot is another very important critical idea. Okay, let's move on. I want you to remember, lack of self-awareness is a major impact on your growth potential. If you don't become aware, self-aware, you are not going to grow, because you're going to be happy with what you are and you are not going to go anywhere. Let's move on. Here are some benefits of self-awareness. The benefits are obvious, but let me list them very quickly. It is the greatest gift that you can give to yourself, to know who you are. Who is controlling you? Are you controlling by your subconscious on a regular basis? Of course, this is very important to be controlled with subconscious, because that is what keeps us away from danger. But you need to be aware of when are you in control, or when your conscious mind is in control, or your subconscious mind is control. Very important. Of course, as you get to know yourself, you start basically having self-esteem and self-respect. Very, very important. And that leads to self-control. And that's what I just talked about. You'll be much more proactive and creative, because now you believe in yourself. And I can tell you that, this journey of basically self-discovery and so on, I started about maybe 20 years ago. 20, 25 years ago. It made a world of difference for me. You become an effective negotiator. You facilitate major decision making. Now you are confident, and of course, it's built on each other. You live your value. We talked about that before. Once you become aware of your values, am I living my values? I say I value this. Am I doing that? So self-discovery is all about monitoring yourself to know, am I living my values or not? No, I am not. Why not? How can I do that? And so on. Certainly, you will be a much more effective leader. And of course, that will lead a better communication, and finally, better relationships. I just want to reinforce the importance of self-awareness. I'm sure many of you are aware of emotional and social intelligence. This thing came about 20 years ago by Daniel Kuhlman. He actually wrote a couple of books. One of them actually was related to project management and emotional intelligence and so on. So what he says, let me just give you the definition of the emotional intelligence: the ability to accurately perceive one's skills, knowledge, values, and responsibility. That is self-awareness. And then understanding why one think that way. And as you can see from his diagram, everything starts with self-awareness, which leads to social awareness, becoming aware of other people, knowing when they are upset. But again, you need to start with yourself, knowing when you are upset or what makes you upset. What are the signs that you are going to get upset? Those are key issues that you need. And of course, once you know that for yourself, you are going to do it for the social awareness. And if you have self-awareness, that will lead to self-control, which is self-management. And of course, self-management and social awareness leads to relationship management. And that is what we all about as leader. As a leader, your job is relationship management. How to create relationship, how to manage relationship, how to basically read the expectations of others and manage those expectations. Very important. We're not going to go any more than that in this one, but you really need to read more about emotional and social intelligence and find out, are you emotionally and socially intelligent? And of course, that will lead to lots of improvement for sure. Here are some ideas as to basically how to improve, or here are some ideas, improvement ideas. Basically, keep an open mind. How can you regulate your emotional world? How can you attune to your own emotions? To be a successful leader, you need to be curious about your own and other people as well. Uh, Another very important, basically, improvement idea, ask other people, what do you think of what I did, or my work, or my behaviors? You need to ask them that. That is extremely important. You need to also to be mindful of your strengths and weaknesses. Try to use your strengths. Make sure that you are aware of your strengths and weaknesses. Also, figure out a way of addressing your weaknesses. Very, very important. Number 4, stay focused. So if you want to connect with people as a leader, you need to train yourself to stay focused for a long period of time without getting stuck in social media or emails or whatever. Very, very important. So make sure you do that. Number 5, which again, very critical one, is set boundaries. My question to you are, do you have boundaries? Do you set boundaries at home? Do you set boundaries with your kids? Do you set boundaries with your boss, your work, and so on? Okay. You need to keep those boundaries clear and make them known to other people. Very important. You need to maintain your integrity for sure. Okay. What else? Know your emotional triggers. What gets me upset? That's very important. When something happens, I get emotional. I feel a lot of blood basically goes to my brain and so on. Don't repress your emotions. Okay, try to talk about them. Don't act them. You need to talk about them, and that, of course, leads to better communication rather than expressing your emotions. You talk about it. Okay. Another thing is, how do you use your intuition? Very important to trust your intuition. Your intuition is actually based on your expertise and the lifelong learning that you had. So start basically trusting your intuition. Very, very important. Get regular feedback at work. That is another very critical thing. Every time you do a project, every time you basically have an issue, you need to talk to other people about it. Need to talk to other people about and get their feedback. And get their feedback. Very critical. Make sure that you have a plan for everything that you want to improve. Make sure you have a plan for everything that you want to improve. Make sure that this plan is detailed. Make sure that you have a critical issue to tell you that I completed my plan. I completed that part of basically improvement or whatever it is. And the last one, do a disc or use a disc. The disc, of course, is a system to get to know yourself. I use actually something similar, which is basically dividing people into 4 types of people. You can be an eagle, a peacock, a dove, or an owl. Getting to know yourself, who you are, what bird you are, will help you understand yourself and understand others as well. Okay, let's move on. Now let's talk about Johari's window model. Okay, basically it's an excellent tool for self-awareness and also understanding other people. So Johari's window is basically a tool that reflect 4 sides of each one of us. So a technique that will help you basically improve. So if you look at the screen, it divides our life into 4 different panes. The first one, we call it open area. Open area. This open area, we call it arena. Arena means things in this area are known to me and known to other people. Okay. For example, whatever you write in the resume is really an open free area. Okay. This is basically the degrees that you have, your qualification, your accomplishment, your goals, and so on. Okay. The next one is, we call it blind area. The blind area is an area where other people are aware of your characteristics, but you are not. For example, that friend that I talked about before that covers his mouth, he doesn't even know that he covers his mouth. So be aware that you do certain things that you don't know about it. For example, you repeat yourself so many times. or you do some stuff that irritate other people. You swing back and forth when you stand up to talk in a public speaking situation, and so on. Like I was looking at somebody a couple of weeks ago. He's giving a presentation and he's just swinging back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. He doesn't even know that. It becomes very irritating for the people looking at him, and so on. So this blind area is very important for you to discover it. And the only way to discover it is by asking people, what do you think? How do we improve here? Tell me, how did I do it? And ask on a regular basis at home and at work. Very, very important. The third area, we call it hidden area. The hidden area represents what we know or I know and hide it from the rest of the world. Okay. For example, some critical information about my fears or secrets or worries, or somebody is afraid of taking risks, afraid of heights, afraid of changing jobs, and so on. So that is something that people try to keep it from other people. I know a friend of mine, he was actually, he had a cancer and he kept it from his wife for, I think, 20 years. He doesn't want her to know that. And the last one is unknown self, or unknown area. This is the area that you don't know about it yourself. Also, other people don't know about it. Let me give you an example. I attended a Christmas party about 10 years ago. I still remember that one. And where Bob is a very happy guy and so on. So I told Bob, why don't you sing for us? I said, no, I don't know how to sing. I said, look, Jack, can you play a tune? Jack has a guitar with him. So basically, Jack played the tune and Bob started thinking. And after about an hour of singing, he said, I really did not know that I can think. This is the first time I do it in 30 years. So here's something that he was not aware of, but he was good at it. So that is where the idea of keep an open mind, welcome other people's suggestions to ask you to do this or do that and so on. Have an open mind. Be willing to try something new, because that will help you discover areas in your life that you never aware that it does exist. Okay. Here's the benefit of Zohari's window. It's very simple tool, very critical, very easy, improving self-awareness. You can use it to help you with personal development, improve communication among team. For example, what is the aim of any team as they work together? Think about that. What is the aim of any team as they work together? As they work together, they need to enlarge or expand the open area. And if they expand the open area, they are actually reducing the blind area. And also, they can be reducing the hidden areas as well. This is the area where good communication actually happens. Make sure that this is the area that you work on with other people. Make sure that you ask other people to basically tell you, what do I do when that's happened? Do I get upset? Because sometimes we get upset without even knowing that. So I want you to think with me, what does this diagram represent? Okay, you have a very small area here, very small area here, huge area here, and huge area here. Of course, this represents a new person joining an existing team. This is you. You try to make it as small as you can because simply you are new to a group. So the goal is to, once you get settled in, this will start enlarging, covering this blind area, enlarging this hidden area and unknown area, and so on. And you discover that you will have good communication this way. Okay? You will need to have a balanced quarters, okay, or quadrants. Okay? Make sure that you increase this, reduce this, and so on. This is very, very important area. Our goal is to have a balanced Johari's window because it gives us better understanding of ourselves and understanding our blind areas. Make sure that you work with other people to discover your blind areas and work on them. Then you can expand this, and the larger this area here, the better communication and better uh, 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 relationship with other people. Okay, that also reduce the hidden area. The hidden area is try to look at what you are hiding from other people and try to share it if possible. Of course, you cannot share everything, but be open to the stuff that is shareable. Let me put it this way. Finally, my challenge to you. Okay, I really want to welcome you to a journey of self-discovery, self-acceptance, and that will lead to self-improvement. Uh, Once you do that, you will be surprised how it will help you get to different places that you never thought it is possible. So let me show, and this of course should not take more than 15 minutes every day, but do it every day. So here is what the plan is. Okay, you start with self-discovery. Keep track of your daily growth. Keep track of your daily growth. What did you learn today? Who did you meet? Were you able to accomplish any critical work or challenging job? Because that gives you more. Remember, we said one of the great advantage of self-discovery is better self-esteem. When you start recognizing, wow, that was a challenging job. I was able to do this and this and this. with minimum information, and we had a great success. Wow, that gives you better control on your work, and of course better self-acceptance, and of course better uh, work in general. Okay, what skill did I learn today? Could that also add to your self-esteem? So keep track of your daily activities. Another thing that you really need to work on is your feeling on a daily basis. Write down any negative feelings that you had or positive ones. And when did they happen? How did they happen? How did you react to your negative feeling for you? How did you react to negative feeling for other people? Did you empathize with them? And so on. Very, very critical. And number three is keep track of your reactions on daily basis. Your reactions to people. How do you often snap? Do you often react without thinking? How do you respond to emails? Many people, when they get an email, they respond right away. Said, what did you say? I don't remember. What? How did that happen? How productive are you? Very important. Start looking at pattern in your life or in your reactions. Start monitoring the triggers. What gets you upset? That is very, very critical. Okay. Uh, at one time, personally, I discovered this many years ago that I'm very slow when it comes to responding to email. I look at it and say, okay, great, and I leave it. And because I'm so busy, I end up leaving 3 or 4 or forgetting 3 or 4 emails. So that is extremely important. Number two, once you get to know all this on a daily basis, start accepting what you discovered. Don't fight it, just accept it. Now start finding basically a somebody to support you, a coach, for example. Share with him or her your goals, your aspirations. What are you trying to do? Once you do that, then you start deciding on areas for improvement. Discuss that with your coach. Say, I discovered this and this and this, and I have a plan for 1 month. Every week, I'm going to touch on this, or I'm going to address this and keep track of this, and so on. Finally, put a plan for self-improvement. Make sure you identify very clearly what are you going to work on and how long it will work. You need to work on it. And when do you know that you already arrived at your goal? Very, very important. Make sure that all this is explained and approved by your coach. This is the person that will monitor you and give you some feedback. Make sure that you have somebody at home, somebody at work. You will be surprised how quickly can you improve and how quickly can you move up in your organization. Because again, remember, it has a lot to do with self-esteem. Remember those reactions or the benefits of self-discovery and self-awareness. Very, very important. Finally, I'm going to leave you with a few words. Self-awareness is the mechanism that helps us bring our habits into alignment with our goals. That's another great definition for self-awareness. I hope that I raised your interest to work on your self-awareness, identify the issues, accept those issues, work on those issues, and I'm sure you will end up being the perfect person that you have been looking for all the time. All the best, best wishes, and if you have any questions, you can go ahead now.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Okay, everybody, now it's time to enter some questions. You can please type your questions into the chat window or the questions window, depending on which web interface you're using. Go ahead and type them into the chat window or the web interface. While we're waiting for people to enter their questions, I just want to remind you of our upcoming webinars. Our next one is Using a PMO to Recession-Proof Your Business by Hussein Bandukwala. That's next week. The next day after that, Using Big Data to Gain Insights with Power BI by Danielle Papillon. Coming after that, we have one on creativity and innovation in project management, and that's a week later. And a week after that, we have two, Making the Leap to Leadership, Leveraging the 8 Sources of Personal Power by Dr. Vijay Verma, and Power BI Overview for New Users, again by Danielle Papillon. I do want to mention we do have a free event coming up on June 28th, 2023, is our PMO Summit. Our PMO Summit. This is a free event aimed at PMO leaders, people running departments of project managers or responsible for portfolios of projects within an organization. And you can find out more about that at pmosummit.com or it's .ca, I'm not sure, pmosummit. Maybe .ca, try that. There's another one coming up, that's June 28th, 2023. There's another one coming up in the fall. It's always the first Thursday of November each year, and that's our International PM Day celebration. This year it's November 2nd, 2023, our International PM Day celebration event. We have a free one-day conference that we'd like to invite you to, and you can find out about that at ipmd.ca. IPMD, International Project Management Day, ipmd.ca. That's a free one-day mini conference. You can get all kinds of free PDUs and goodies. There's prize draws and all kinds of stuff happening throughout the day. During that event, we'll also be announcing the Canadian Project of the Year Awards and the Canadian Project Manager of the Year Awards also at that event. So again, ipmd.ca. and pmosummit.ca or com, I can't remember. Okay, again, please enter your questions if you have one in the chat window. This is our last chance. I'm not seeing any questions yet. Last chance to enter a question. I think that's it. Sami, I think we're done.
Take care.
All right, thank you, everybody. Have a great day.